History is often presented to us as a complete and reliable record of the past, but in reality, it is far from perfect. Behind the official versions of events, there are gaps, contradictions, and unanswered questions. The biggest cover-ups in human history begin with this simple truth: not everything is meant to be known. Powerful institutions, governments, and leaders have always had the ability to shape narratives. What gets recorded becomes truth, and what gets hidden slowly disappears. But the real story is often far more complex, and far more unsettling, than what we are taught. In ancient times, information was controlled through storytelling, religion, and limited access to knowledge. Empires rose and fell, but only the victors wrote history. Defeated civilizations were often erased, their achievements ignored, and their voices silenced. Libraries were destroyed, records were altered, and entire cultures were reduced to myths. What we know today about many ancient societies is only a fragment of what once existed. This raises a powerful question: how much of early human history has been lost, or deliberately hidden? As time moved forward, cover-ups became more organized and strategic. With the rise of powerful states and empires, secrecy became a tool of governance. Wars were justified with carefully crafted stories, while the true motivations, power, resources, control, remained hidden. Leaders understood that public perception could determine the success or failure of their rule. So information was filtered, manipulated, and sometimes completely fabricated. The truth didn't disappear, it was simply buried under layers of carefully constructed narratives. The modern era brought technology, but it also brought a new level of control. Governments began classifying information, restricting access to sensitive data, and controlling what the public could see. Major events, wars, political decisions, intelligence operations, were often surrounded by secrecy. Documents were locked away for decades, and even when they were released, many details remained hidden. This created a world where truth became something that had to be uncovered, rather than something openly shared. One of the most unsettling aspects of historical cover-ups is how easily they are accepted. People trust official sources, and questioning them is often discouraged. Over time, repeated narratives become accepted as fact, even if they are incomplete. This is how cover-ups survive, not just through secrecy, but through belief. When an entire population accepts a version of events, the hidden truth becomes almost impossible to challenge. Silence, in many cases, is not forced, it is maintained. However, history is never truly silent. Whistleblowers, researchers, and curious minds have always challenged official narratives. Leaked documents, hidden archives, and forgotten testimonies have slowly brought pieces of the truth to light. Each discovery adds a new layer to our understanding, revealing that the past is far more complex than it seems. But even these revelations often come with limitations, leaving many questions still unanswered. The deeper we look, the more we realize that cover-ups are not isolated incidents, they are part of a larger pattern. They exist in different forms, across different time periods, and for different reasons. Sometimes they are meant to protect national security, sometimes to avoid panic, and sometimes to maintain power. But regardless of the reason, the result is the same, a version of history that is incomplete. And an incomplete history can shape how we see the world today. In the end, the biggest cover-ups in human history are not just about hidden events, they are about the nature of truth itself. They remind us that what we know is only part of a much larger story. Understanding this does not mean rejecting everything we've learned, it means questioning, exploring, and remaining open to new perspectives. Because history is not just something that happened in the past. It is something that is still being written, still being shaped, and perhaps, still being hidden.